And as Bob said, your feet must feel the ground and sense what's going on with your body and how it's in harmony. You've got to get those three things. Now, is that easy? No. Does it last long? Probably not. We've soon learned that golf is a lifetime pursuit of problem solving. And that keeps us in business. Is that all bad? No, there's never an end to the learning process. And that's maybe why we love this crazy game. Because you get it and lose it, and then we try to help people find it again, and we try to help them learn to play better. But I think it's important that you understand that you've got three dimensions in a golf swing to get to blend: vertical, lateral, and rotary, and you get it done with your eyes, your hands, and your feet. And when I hear Mr. Jack talk about, he gets the rhythm of his swing through his feet, and he senses that. And I understand that David Ledbetter the other day had some tools that help people feel that and how to use their feet. And obviously we know David's a great teacher, and it's nice to see those things coming out. Number 3, consider the importance of pre-swing fundamentals. Well, I'm in my 50th year of teaching. And I've enjoyed every year of it, I promise you. And if I can stay vertical now, the big divot, for a few more years, I'm going to get still better. Because I'm learning from the guys that I'm with, and I teach a lot of juniors, and they're fun to be with, and I love to tease them and exchange ideas. But tour players have helped me understand the importance of setup and how your body can react to swinging a golf club. You see, there's two basic principles that I see and philosophies being taught in golf. And 15 years ago, when I started coaching Jack after Mr. Grout died, I really began to understand one of the reasons I felt like he got so good so quickly. What Mr. Grout taught him was pretty simple, and yet I don't think we're teaching the game that way. Mr. Grout had Jack play the whole first year with his feet on the ground. As he swung, the heel could roll or his ankles could roll, but both feet had to stay on the ground. And when he was doing that, he learned how to swing and release the golf club because his body wasn't out racing. He never got the club stuck because his body was jumping and twisting. And you see, what Mr. Grout taught him was your body moves in reaction to swinging the golf club. In other words, from the right setup and alignment, if you swing your arms and the club, and you swing it back and up and around behind you, your body turns, your weight shifts. If you get to the top, you don't start shifting your weight to start the downswing. You swing the club, and the swing makes you react, and your body then begins to get in harmony with what the club's doing. And you can play golf, you can make a number, you have fun. Now, tour players, I yield. They want something a lot more technical, and we need to give that to people. We need to do things that help us understand how to make the club swing simpler and in better arcs. There's no question. But we need to make people enjoy the challenge of the game. And I think the philosophy that we use is critical there. And the alignment that we use is critical in the setup and the ball position. And I see today a lot less knee flex in a good player. They're bending more from the hips. And our job, quite frankly, folks, is to give a posture that fits the ball flight of the student we're working with. You see, as I said, there's two basic philosophies. One is the use of the club makes your body react, and the other is your body moves the club. And you can teach the game either way. But I think people have less tension and are able to keep their mind playing golf if they teach it in a manner that they're trying to swing and let their body react to that. I much prefer that. Manuel de la Tour, players and guys who are concerned about how to help their students be able to play short game shots and the same compatible concept as their full swing, I think teach the use of the golf club. Now, from there, I think we do have two swings that we are teaching. We have the developmental swing, which is largely responsible to releasing the club and how to get it squared up. And those people, we're trying to take the slice away from them. About 80% of the people that come to me, lose the ball to the right. The other 20% are trying to create an anti-hook golf swing. And that's when you teach the body a lot more and you teach the legs a lot more, is to take the left side of the golf course away. And the good players that we have, yes, that's what they fear. Every good player can eliminate one side of the golf course or the other. What our folks are struggling is they don't know which barrel the shot's coming out of. And we've got to be able to make our teaching fit the needs of our students. So our setup should vary. If we're trying to teach people to draw the golf ball, they've got to be tilted and set under their ball more. They've got to have the ball back in their stance a fraction further so they can come a little more from the inside. The fellows who are trying, how many guys on tour do you know that play from a square or closed position? Almost none. They're set very open. But that's not conducive to being able to draw your golf ball. And so our setup has to fit. The setup for the guy who's trying to hit an anti-hook golf swing, he's going to be set more level, ball more forward, stance more open, less tilted. And so we've got to be able to adjust those things, not give everybody the same thing. And then beyond that, we've got to help folks understand that the setup varies based on the lie of the ball, the shot they're trying to hit, the trajectory, and what we're trying to fix. And you see, a setup varies a little bit from an iron to a wood. One of the things that Jack helped me understand, which I really think's exciting. If you have a driver in your hand, the ball is obviously teed, and you're going to make a golf swing, that you're hitting your ball on the upswing. And when you do, your body stays back. Your head at the point of impact is going backwards with good players. Yet when you have an iron in your hand and you're swinging downward, your weight shift reacts to the use of the golf club. And therefore, the weight shift becomes the effect of how you're swinging and using the instrument, not a conscious effort to make it move. And that's what I see all the time is we as teachers, I don't think, have made it simple enough for our students. But that's our job. And some of the drills that you can come up with for each of these are the challenges that we face as teachers. But I see a lot less knee flex in our students, and I like that. Quite frankly, I would rather my students leave me stiff-legged than too much knee flex. Now, I don't want them stiff-legged, but if they're going to err, I'd rather have them standing very tall and bending from the hips, because that helps them keep the club in the front of them and swing the club in a better arc. And so your alignment and your setup is a huge cause on what happens to their ball flight. And some of the conclusions I've drawn there is that I must match the setup and alignment to the ball flight my student wants to hit. And I need to help him understand, is he trying to get a release of the golf club that's dramatic and feel the face really rotate? I asked Ernie Els, and one of the times I was working with him, Ernie, tell me the ball flight you want to hit. And he gave me an answer I've never heard as long as I've been teaching golf. He said, I want to fade my driver, draw my irons. I said, wow, tell me about that. I'm not sure I understand that. He said, well, I can carry it 290 to 300 with a driver, so when it hits, I'd like to see it come down soft and stay in play. With an iron, I play in so much wind, I don't want the wind affecting the trajectory and the flight of my golf ball and the distance I hit it. So I want a slight little draw. And to be able to do that requires some talent, obviously. But it helped me see that there are advantages to all different kinds of ball flights and swings. And I feel that we need to help our students understand the cause and effect of why they can't make adjustments in their golf swing. One of the things that Jack talks a lot about is being able to understand his swing and make adjustments. And I'm not so sure that we're doing that with our students enough. We need to educate them in the terms of what's happening in their golf swing and how they can relate to those principles. So pre-swing is very critical, both as to grip and grip pressure. And I talk about the quick fix there for a grip, excuse me. If I have a person who comes to me and they've got a really bad grip and they play well, boy, I'm not going to touch his grip. If I have a person who's got a bad grip and they're struggling, and I don't have a lot of time to get him ready to go play, I might adjust his grip pressure and have him work with that. And I heard Craig yesterday say that Mo felt like that he gripped the club very tightly. Well, that proves again that you can do golf lots of different ways, because I can assure you that Jack works to get his arms as soft as he can. And I can assure you that Sam Snead played with a lot of softness in his grip, and I know Ernie does. So I think that's one of the things that we face in this game, helping our student find a way that they can compete and play the best. From there, let's talk about in-swing principles, number 4. What are the principles that you believe in and that you think will help your students play better golf? I think in-swing fundamentals are where we really have a lot of preferences. We have a lot of differences in how we approach the game, starting with the takeaway and what folks feel how the club should get started. I, for one, as I said to you, love to see the swinging motion of the club. And to that point, Nick Faldo said it beautifully. He wants to get the head of the club swinging as soon as possible. When I look at Ernie Els and I study his swing, it looks like his hands and his arms really get started vertical and lateral a long time before his chest starts to turn. And yet, not everybody will buy that. And you've got to kind of work with your students and find out what works best, because to me, it's not teaching golf is an art form. It is not a cookie cutter approach, and it's not rocket science. We need to be able to have the creativity that you see in good teachers, that they can find solutions. And we can learn from our champions and how they've played their best and what they've found works under pressure. And I think that we need to realize that not every student's going to swing the club up and down on the same plane. You know, Bruce Litsky played pretty good from in and over, and Mr. Snead did a little bit of that and played pretty good. And then we see some guys today that are playing really well who drop the club under, from Jay Haas to Freddie Couples to Kenny Perry to, what's that guy's name? Jim Furyk. Now, when I hear that every club's got to go up and down on the same arc, I think that would be ideal. But I think that's a very high-maintenance golf swing. Can be done, yes. Probably ideal. But I'm not so sure everybody has enough time to get that done. And be careful, folks, in what we teach. It's got to fit the person we're working with. My juniors, I like to get them to drop the club under some so they can release and draw the golf ball, especially if they need distance. So I'm saying to you, find a swing away that will fit the students you're working with and the path that they're working with. I know Jack, I tease him and say, you know, it's your fault that guys like Vijay Singh and Ernie Els and Nick Faldo and the big tall guys are playing golf today, because Jack did keep the club in front of him, as did Mr. Nelson. But Jack got the club coming down almost on the same arc that he took it back in. And the tall guys now can use their strength and their height as an advantage, where for so long only good players we had were short players who could swing the club around them. Then maybe they could come over the top a little bit and it wasn't that serious. But coaching Phil Blackmar has really helped me understand what tour players must face and the challenges of keeping the club in the right arc in their transition, and how quiet their feet and legs must be. The taller you are, the simpler your golf swing's got to be. The more you've got to stay quiet. And at the top of the swing, I like to see the club face from square to slightly open. Yeah, I've been a closed club face player, and I keep fighting it today. Of course, I've only been playing 65 years, so I ought to have it fixed by now. But I got another 20 years to work on it, so I'll probably get it fixed before I go in the big divot. But The truth is, in watching Jack and the guys who can release the club the most, the club face is pretty square to open up on top. And VJ, I worked with him almost 15 years ago, and I tried to convince him at that point that I felt his club face borderline on closed, and he couldn't release the club as well. And yet I saw him about a month ago. I said, V, I've never seen your club face so open. Up on top, I've never seen it in such a good position. He said, yeah, that's what I've been working on for a year so I can release it more. And it's helped him become a much better ball striker, he feels. So I am much concerned about the position of the club face up on top. It's the argument that I got in a few years ago with Jim McLean at the Golf Channel. And he felt that guys released the club early because it was too open. And I said, Jim, I think people release the club too early because their bodies run off and they've got to play catch up with the club head. And the release becomes a reaction to an overactive body. That's what I see. Now, we all see different things. We have different impressions. And I'm not saying Jim's wrong because he's got a right to his opinion. But I'm very concerned about the club face. I'm concerned about the shaft line up on top. I'd like to have it down the line, yes, and parallel. But Jack won 18 majors across the line, so I'm not so damn sure that's all bad. And especially folks who need distance, I'd rather have the shaft line slightly across than laid off. And yet I see so many guys on tour today with abbreviated swings that look laid off, and perhaps if the club went further, it would be on line. But I'd rather have the shaft in a position that allows it to be released. What's interesting, VJ's got a driver now that's 10.5 degrees, 7 degrees open. Yeah, 7 degrees open. Now the truth is, when he releases the club that's that open, he's de-lofted it considerably as the club comes down and gets into the impact area. So while it is 10.5 degrees at the moment of impact, it's back to where he played for years, which was 7 degrees loft, effective at impact. So I'm saying the guys today have used technology to help their games and to be able to compete and play. There's no question. The transition, I find that really interesting. The transition of the golf swing. I think the best article ever written in golf. Mark O'Mara, September of 1996, Golf Digest. And what Mark said was, is the exact opposite of what pictures showed. He felt he started his downswing with no part of his body moving, just his arms and the club. Now that wasn't what he did, but you see, it kind of gave me license to feel like I needed to be teaching what the student felt like he needed to do to play better and not have to make it fit what science showed. Yeah, science may be okay, but if it doesn't help the person play better, I don't want to have him micromanage his golf swing to the point that he can't be free and he can't let his mind get into the target. At impact, I'm not so sure that we have a lot of people who can keep their shoulders facing the ball and their hips opened up a lot and still get the point of entry from the inside. So I'll give my students a little test from time to time on what kind of flexibility they have and can they do some things that they're trying to do in their golf swing. I think Stan Thurst, Tom Watson's original and still present teacher, said, you must not teach the golf swing in a manner that the right hip interferes with the point of entry of your arms and the club coming down. You've got to and Jack talks about facing the ball longer through the strike. Yeah, a lot of this is old stuff. Some of the new stuff shows the guys more open. But the truth is, those are anti-hook golf swings. And as I said to you, I'm not teaching very many people who are wanting anti-hook golf swings. Our challenge becomes to fit, if you will, I'm sorry, drills and exercises that fit the needs of the student we're working with. And I use a lot of drills that are based on impact and front loader, the one that Leslie King used to give Julie Inkster. He would start her golf swing up into about here. Swing the club up over the top of the ball and swing it on down. He would get her starting the swing out in front to get a feeling of swinging the head of the golf club to get more arm freedom. So I'm saying to you, the challenge we face is finding drills that fit the students we're working with. And the area here that I'm always concerned about is the flip versus the release. I want to be able to help people learn to release the club and get forearm rotation and knuckles down until they can hook the hell out of their golf ball. Mr. Pinnock said it better than anybody. Teach the draw until they can hook it, then take the hook away by using their feet and legs. And I think that's still very apropos. But the flip happens because the club's either out of position or their body's out of position and they've got to catch the club up any way they can. And Jack I watched Jack Monday and heard him give a clinic where he said that he feels that the quieter you keep your body, the more consistent and the longer you can strike your golf ball. And he does that by trying to keep his head still. Now, a lot of guys today want to move off the ball. And again, you can make a case for either one of those, but make sure it fits the students you're working with. From there, I would like to have you consider playing part shots. How do you do teaching part shots? Are you good at helping people? Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Can you teach people to hit low trajectory, high trajectory, bunker shots, flop shots, inside 100 yards? How do your students play? And I think if you're teaching swinging the club, they can play part shots. If you teach only to hit everything as hard as they can hit it, then they've got a problem in being able to play the shot that doesn't call for the exact club that they have in their hand. They've got to be able to make some adjustments. And when I think of guys that I've spent time with and how they do at making that happen, Tosky was a genius. Johnny Miller used to be able to hit every club in his bag 100 yards. And I think we've lost track of that. People want the game so quickly today that I'm not so sure they work at it hard enough to be able to play part shots. And I feel you've got to be able to sense where the club head is and how to use it and the pace at which you're swinging it. And that's another reason for getting the arms to control the shoulders. And for instance, the tension that you have in your hands, Davis Love's father used to help me with this a lot. If you wanted to hit a low trajectory shot, your grip pressure would be significantly greater to keep the grip end out in front. If you want to hit a high flop shot, the softness you had to have let the club pass, and how to use the head of the golf club to make, if you will, a more lofted type shot. It's kind of funny. About 3 weeks ago, one of my favorite all-time students, a little guy by the name of Philip Francis, who has been with me now for about, started with him when he was 6. He's now 16. At 13, he may have been as good a player as the game's ever had. He'd won 130 tournaments. He'd won the Junior World 4 times. He was a +3 at Desert Mountain from the back tees, from the tips. And I took him on the Golf Channel, as I have a couple of times, and we were doing something out at Bay Hill, and I found that Arnold was there, and I asked Arnold if I could come by and introduce Philip to him, and told him a little bit about Philip, and he looked at me and he said, "Jim, what kind of finesse does he have?" He wasn't anxious to know how far he hit it. He wanted to know, could he compete and make a number? And I said, well, I don't think he can win 130 tournaments. If he can't get his ball up and down, he can't hit shots. But isn't it interesting that here's one of the great players of all time concerned about finesse, because he sees the game today such a power game that if champions are able to hit the shot that's called for, if we're teaching our students power only, are we giving them what they need, which is finesse and being able to play? And to that end, Phil Blackmar really does a nice job in teaching. He says, Jim, why teach a person one-armed only? If you're teaching hitting down and striking, which Trevino talks about to stabilize a club with a wedge, just stick it in the ground. Said then do right hand off after impact to train your left arm to do a little better. But then Phil said, teach them to do the same thing, to hit good shots with their right arm. So if their right arm takes over, it'll be compatible with what they're, ooh, I'm in deep doo-doo now. Time. Of a serious nature, Finesse is something that we're all looking for how to teach. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. How to teach finesse starts with grip and grip pressure and swinging the head of the golf club, not shifting our weight. The next is putting. Thank you. Let's see if we got putting under pressure. And we can find lots of styles for putting, lots of principles in putting. And we have Mr. Pels, who feels the putter should go straight back, straight through. We had Mr. Utley, who was just here, and I happen to like a lot of stance things where the putter moves in an arc. The truth is, guys, I think you can do it either way. But you've got to make sure your student's doing, and he knows which he's trying to do, and you find the way to teach it that he can believe in and can commit to and can understand. And you see, the thing that impresses me most there is Mr. Nicholas talks about, and I've never seen anybody die the ball in a hole as consistently as Jack does. And he does it with such great speed consistently. He feels the slower the ball is going, the bigger the hole is. And I think for our average guy, that's what they need. 17 inches by the hole may be okay for guys who are spending a lot of time at it. But I'm concerned, and Jack said, tell me how many putts Mr. Pels has made from above the hole 5 feet on number 9 at Augusta and tried to knock his ball 17 inches by because it's going to be 30 yards off the front of the green. Now, that doesn't mean that Mr. Pels was wrong. All we're saying is that maybe not every putt ought to try to be hit hard enough to go 17 inches by. And if we're not careful, then we teach something as an absolute, and even putting, my point is, has to be taught in a manner that the student understands, whether you're trying to get him to arc the putter or whether you are trying to do it in a manner that he's moving the putter straight back and straight through. And either one will work, but make sure your student knows it, and it's important that we have the right drills to fit that. Next principle. Well, since my memory may be fairly good at 110, I think we're talking about teaching on the course. Thank you so very much. And I'll see that the golf gods help you get better. Teaching on the course. That's a very, very special art that not many folks are capable of doing. And Bob Toski was the first that I'd ever seen do that effectively. And Scott Davenport and Tom Ness and a number of us used to watch Bob take people on the golf course and do genius things with them. And then I learned a lot from Davis Love's father and from John Elliott, and really good there is Charlie Epps and some guys who made me understand that we've got to be able to handle people in a totally different way, and that's a transition that most folks struggle with, is taking it to the golf course and making a number. You see, all of a sudden we have a target. We've got to be accountable for the strokes we're taking and making a number. And they lose their rhythm. They lose their routine. And how do you do teaching on the golf course with folks? Do you have a chance to watch them out there? The first thing I have a guy do when he comes to me is I watch him hit shots to a different target at a different angle, different distances with different clubs, because I want to see how he is on the golf course. I want to see how his swing performs if he has to make it go to a target. And it's something that I think we need to step back and take a look at. Are we preparing people to play golf, or are we just teaching them how to swing the golf club? And for years, Bob and I would have folks come, and we'd both be teaching in the same school, and Bob would be having guys from tour come for help, and I would. And I'd go over and I'd watch Bob and glance over there, and it looked like I'd say, what the hell's he doing? He doesn't look like he's changed that guy's swing at all. Boy, I'd have my guys leave it, and they'd look really good. Next week, I'd look down the numbers. Toski's guys would keep beating my guys. I might make my guys look better swinging a golf club, but they couldn't play the game. And I began to come back and step back and take a look and see that Bob understood how to help people play golf. Jack talks about being his own coach and understanding how to play the game. And I think that's something we definitely need to help our folks do, to understand the ball flight, what affects the ball flight, what they're doing that makes that ball flight correct or incorrect, and put them in the frame of mind of not what they're doing wrong, but what they should be working on to get better. For instance, Gary Player would, after hitting a shot, if it didn't go where he wanted to, he would never leave that area until he'd made the swing and implanted in his mind what the correct feeling should be like. And you see, that's an art that I'm not so sure we do a good job of, is teaching on course. Next is fitting the fundamentals to the strengths and limitations of the student we're working with. And Mike Malaska, who many of you have had a chance to know the last few days, is a marvelous teacher and a very, very good player. Mike helped me understand that there's no sense trying to help a person make a 90-degree shoulder turn if they don't have the flexibility to do that. And in particular, maybe if we're trying to keep people's heel down on their left, keep their heel down, if they've gotten a little age and they don't have any flexibility, is it more important to keep the heel down or get them behind their golf ball? Well, it might be okay with a short club to keep the heel down, but with a longer club, maybe the heel should come up. And Jack won 18 majors with his heel a hell of a long ways off the ground. Now, he did that because he wasn't very flexible, and yet when he swung the golf club, if his heel came up, his knee coming in a little bit made his hip stay level. If he'd have tried to keep his heel on the ground and his knee came in, he'd have fallen more to the left side than he did. And so my point is, remember, we've got to make our material fit the student we're working with as to their strengths, their weaknesses. And I see ladies in particular and old guys like Sourpuss here who need to set the club earlier to make the club lighter so they can swing it. And I like setting the club early for the average person. In fact, I told Jack, I said, you might not like Philip's swing a little bit sometimes, Coach, because I get him to set the club pretty early. He said, I wished I'd have set it earlier. I said, gosh, you got to be kidding. He said, no, I have too much down cock because I set it too late. And so you see, all of us have to find a way to help our students understand what we're trying to do with them. And are we giving them what fits what they can do physically in the golf swing we're presenting to them? And the tour swing that we're trying to teach to the average folks do not fit, in many instances, what their strengths and their physical characteristics will let them do. Helping the student develop the proper attitude and mindset to play and compete. I think they're Mr. Rotella and Dick Coop, and I got a kick out of the guys yesterday. I enjoyed what they were talking about yesterday. And Freddie and the guys and their attitude about teaching people the right mindset to play, they're doing us a tremendous favor in helping us become aware of how to teach some of the mental cues that are necessary to help people play better. The thing I'm concerned with today is two things in that area. Unrealistic expectations that our students bring. They read a little bit, consider themselves experts, have the ability to set their mind, but they can't execute and they want to get better. My job is to get right in their face and be honest with them and tell them that, how many days a year do you spend in playing golf? Oh, I play maybe twice a week. Well, let's see, you live in Chicago, so you're going to play maybe 26 weeks, so you're playing 50 times a year. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, you go in the office 50 times a year. What kind of handicap would you have there? How good would you be in the office? Our job is to help their realistic expectations, not let them become frustrated because they can't execute right away. I think we're living in an age where information is readily available, and people confuse the inability to execute for the inability to understand. They're wanting more and more information, and yet they can't execute at a level they already have. Our job is to keep them moving along at a level they can understand and execute, and that's why we need drills. Drills are a way of keeping the part of your body that's causing a problem from becoming more damaging. And I have a hard time motivating my students to do drills, but they're not going to make a swing change without those drills to undo a number of the bad habits they have. The thing that's really important there is that you have a precise identification of exactly what's happening in their golf swing and help people understand that. I've never seen anybody like Mr. Nicholas who could precisely identify what's going on in his golf swing. He ought to be able to. Probably the best player that's ever lived, or arguably the best player. Not most folks can do that, but our job is to help them be able to identify what is happening so they can make those adjustments. And, you know, I have fathers who call me all the time and say, Jim, all my son needs is a little confidence. Well, excuse me, if I knew where in the hell to go buy that, I'd put some in old sourpuss here right away. But I think you create confidence by teaching them how to control the club head and the ball flight. And you start with short shots. And as Toski said, we'd be better off if we taught the game from the green to the tee rather than from the tee to the green. And you want a compatible concept in a short game that fits what you're doing in the full swing. Jack feels like in every place, whatever he's doing with one swing, he'll do it through the rest of his golf clubs. Whatever he's working on in putting or chipping or bunker or whatever it is will be the same thing in the full swing because they match out. We find students make the same mistake every place. They just show up with different clubs in different ways because of the loft on the club or the angle of approach fits the club they're trying to play, and they get by with certain mistakes. But again, right attitude and a mindset that we work with our students is critical. Gary Player said it beautifully. In order to survive, we must be willing to make changes. And our job is to help our students get through those changes. In conclusion, Bill Strasbaugh said it better than anybody I've ever heard, and I think Bill borrowed this, but the source I'm not sure. We must all make efforts to continue improving our teaching skills. And Bill said it nicely, those who dare teach must never cease to learn. Mr. Pinnock, just give a couple aspirin, not a whole bottle. The importance is that we need to make the game, you know, we've been really lucky. When you look at the shape of other athletic, if you will, entertainment and games, it's kind of scary what's going on in some of those games, in some of those sports, excuse me. The game has been given to us in very good shape, the game of golf. And I'm going to ask each of you to do this with me. I'd like for you to raise your right hand and state your name. I solemnly, and say I and state your name for me, please. Come on, I don't hear much. Let's get committed here. Come on. I, Jim Flick, do solemnly swear to the golf gods that I will not let my ego get in the way of my teaching. I will do my best to give the student what he needs to play and enjoy the game. Come on, let's hear that one more time. I will give the student what he needs to play and enjoy the game. I don't see many lips moving over here. I don't see, you guys are supposed to be teachers. And you know what? We've got a responsibility to make sure that the game continues to grow, and we're the keepers of the game. And I'm not so sure that we take that seriously. I ask guys, what are you reading? What have you read? What have you tried to do to get to be a better teacher? And I'm surprised that some of the things, folks haven't done a good job in preparing themselves to pass the game along to our students and those that are going to teach. So let's finish it up by saying, I love this game and I want to take care of it, so help me golf gods. Thank you very much.